Hello everyone, welcome to Japan Spirit. I am Kawatani Takashi.
Hello everyone, how have you been? I'm Itadia.
What topic would you like to introduce today's topic?
So we are going to talk about this cultural diversity. As you know, in every culture there are a basic standard for social interaction. So when it comes to cross-cultural, I think it's important to be careful to judge that culture according to your standard. So here we are going to break it down, how usually people deal with cultural diversity.
Okay, how are we capable of approaching or managing cultural diversity? The word diversity is something we talked about in one of our recent programs. It means almost the same as a variety of differences. Okay, and we're going to talk about three types of approaching cultural diversity. And Japanese culture is, of course, like we have discussed a while ago, because of this mandala, harmony and community, altruism, and so forth. We are supposed to be good at living with people in harmony with other people in the community, and living in synchronizing with the environment. However, that people in the community have always been Japanese, and it's very rare that those people included non-Japanese people throughout our history. So, as this year's topic is intercultural business communication for Japan, so we'd like to examine and review how good is Japan in managing diversity, or how do you viewer are good at approaching cultural diversity, and when we face non-Japanese people as friends or co-workers, how are we approaching them? Okay, so that's the theme of the program. When I did a workshop a diversity workshop for all the board members of Shell Group Japan many years ago, with real Dutch Shell people from Singapore and the UK. We were talking about whether Japanese are capable of managing diversity. And then this Shell consultant told me, Japan has been good, but that diversity is only within the monocultural context, but not proven yet when it comes to diversity in a multicultural context. And she also said, diversity is not a choice, it is a given. So we cannot run away from approaching cultural diversity. Okay, Ita-san, would you like to read the first type?
All right. The first type is parochial. The perception is no impact, and the approach is ignore differences, and the outcomes is problems.
Okay, so the first type is called parochial, in Japanese henkyō-gata. This type of a person or company or organization, when they see different cultures, they don't see it. Even if foreigners are in front of them and they're behaving differently, they don't see any impact. They don't, so the approach is they don't notice the differences. Sometimes they may ignore because they want to ignore it, but usually they don't have much vicious intentions inside, but they try to ignore the differences or don't notice it. So the problems will remain. Okay, this type of a person or the company, I say company because company is also a culture, and the company behave a certain way, So this kind of person or company believe that our way is the only way. And this frequency, this type of a person actually is, what do you think, is it common or very rare?
I have to say very common.
Very common. That's right, it's very common actually.
And the second one is ethnocentric. the perception is negative, the approach minimize differences, and the outcomes some problem and view advantage.
So this is worse than parochial. Parochial usually has not much bad intention, but he's simply absent-minded or cannot see the difference. But this type of a person or organization, they see the differences. They recognize that different people behave differently. But they think that difference bring only or nothing but the negative things. I met this person from Japan, somewhere in Japan. He's a super engineer, senior legendary engineer man. He went to Bangkok the other day and tried to teach the same thing he taught to young workers back in the Japan factory. And he taught the same way many times to the Thai worker. And yet these people cannot do the job as told and make the same mistakes. So this man has run out of different ways of teaching and finally concluded that these people must be lazy, therefore not learning from my training. This type of approach could be ethnocentric because he believes his teaching style should work for everybody. Because he believes he's teaching the same way, Then after he teaches 3 months or 6 months, everyone is supposed to produce a certain result, but these people in Thailand are not producing the same result. So he believes he doesn't want to admit the different ways of learning. Different people have different learning style. It doesn't just get into his frame reference. This type of a person believe that our way is the best way. They are not supposed to be different learning style than my learning style of my students.
So he insists, he believes his way is the best way.
That's right. Okay, this type of approach is also common, whether we are aware or not aware. The last one?
The last one is synergistic. The perception is potential negative and positive. And the approach is manage differences and the outcomes, some problems and many advantage.
That's right. So, as you can see, this approach sees both negatives and positives. So she thinks there's always a negative thing about cultural differences. But also she is also looking at the potential advantage, positive thing.
Right.
Yeah. For example, you and I are working together for this program.
Yes.
And if you were a Japanese woman, maybe the time I would spend my time in rehearsal,
yes,
maybe 20 or 30 or 40% less maybe. I don't know. Not because of the communication, but because of the language. Yeah, sometimes.
It's easier.
Because we talk about cultural thing and our perception is much similar.
Yes.
So if I refuse working with you and instead choose to work with a Japanese assistant anchor woman,
yes,
then I may find it easy, but I may not be able to get the kind of fun or creative performance we can by working together, right?
Yes, that's true.
So although there are always a negative thing, communication, language,
that's true.
Of course. But also there's a potentially good things waiting in line, right? So that's a synergistic person. So her strategy or approach is try to manage the difference, meaning being patient.
Yes.
And I try to force myself to explain more clearly than I would to a Japanese partner. Yeah, that's a beauty, isn't it? Because you might ask me questions that Japanese partner may not ask me.
Because they find it's common. It's not a problem.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a stress maybe. It takes a bit of effort to explain more because you're not a Japanese from Japan. But the result of clearer explanation is good to the viewers.
That's true.
That's managing differences. Okay. So some problems will continue unless you get unless you speak perfect Japanese or I speak perfect Bahasa Indonesia. But many advantages. We're trying at least. So 51 positive, 41 negative. That's okay.
Yes.
No need to be 80 positive, 20 negative. That's ideal. So this approach, do you think is rare or common?
I think it's common.
Common? This is common?
Maybe not.
To me, it is uncommon because it takes effort. Not everyone can do that, go beyond or manage a cultural difference. Now, this type of person believes that creative combinations of our way and their way, or my way and your way, may be the best way. It may not, but maybe at least a better way. So hoping for the better is important. So cultural diversity is not does not guarantee automatic advantages. Yeah.
Right. Today, we Indonesians celebrate Indonesian Independence Day all around the world, including here in Tokyo. And now, we here, behind me, there's a General Sdirman statue. Do you know why? Well, let's find out why. Apparently, not many people know there's a full-size bronze statue of Indonesian legendary revolution leader General Sdirman. He was the leader of VTA. VTA is an army defender of the homeland. That was Indonesian volunteer army formed during the Japanese occupation in 1943. They were fought in war for independence. Their role in revolution was greatly honored. General Sdirman was beloved by all his men. In central Jakarta, there's a Sdirman Street where an identical bronze statue of General Sdirman also stands. The fact that in 2011, Indonesia gave Japan a statue of General Sdirman and put it here is a refutation of the legality and the verdict of the Tokyo War crime trial. And also, it symbolized the development of friendship and amicable cooperation between Japan and Indonesia.
スティルマン将軍に対する、献花式が2回目になりますが、今回は、防衛省が、公式な行事として、防衛副大臣、も本当は大臣がおいででしたら大臣は出られると言ったんですが、今ワシントンにおいでなもんで、公式行事として行うことができました。私たちとしては、向こう10年、20年、50年、100年とこの献花式を続けて、日本とインドネシアの間の友好関係を強めていきたいと願っております。
Thank you very much for your time. And today is, our Independence Day. And then I'm Indonesian. I'm very proud to be standing here and talking to you. So, not many people know about Sdirman and then General Sdirman. And now, to be honest, I just know as well. So, what do you think? Did you heard this before? Do you know this before?
Well, I heard a couple of years ago this statue was sending from Indonesian government to Japanese government to the Ministry of Defense. And of course, I think everyone, every soldier in Indonesia, they know very well our General Sdirman. They are the founding father of Indonesian National Army, and also they were educated. He have educated from Japanese military during those days. And then he's the one who was appointed as chief of Indonesian Army after our Independence Day. And then during the second aggression from the Dutch, it was in 1948. He's going out of the town doing the guerrillas war. Yeah, and he don't want to be surrendered. Even he was having such a chronic illness, and finally in the 1950 he was just passed away. But the spirit of him until now still be the doctrine in our national army.
Thank you very much. So what do you think? Why General Sdirman here?
Why General Sdirman here? Well, I think he's the person who is well known between Indonesia and Japan.
Okay. So what's good for Japan?
What's good for Japan?
Yes.
Well, I think as the history and the military historical. Japan has already, I think they're proud at what they educate, becoming the Indonesian heroes. Yes, Indonesian big general.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
やっぱり日本のですね、兵隊さんもインドネシアの独立戦争に参加された方もいるわけですね。ですからこのスティルマン将軍と一緒にですね、日本の兵隊さんたちが日本の敗戦の後もインドネシアに残って約2000人の兵隊さんが残って1000人が独立戦争で死んだと言い伝えられておりますけれども、それは日本にとっても大きな誇りですね。そしてこの東京裁判が行われた極東軍事法廷が開かれたこの市ヶ谷台、その場所にこのアジアを解放した印であるスティルマン将軍像があるということ、そしてそのスティルマン将軍は日本軍が育てた人であるということは、日本の戦争の意義というものを東京裁判を否定する証拠がここに厳然として存在していると、そういう意味だと思います。その意味でも我々にとっては非常に意義深いこの銅像であります。
The other day, I received an email from someone from overseas. Okay, this person is one of the trainees, intern trainees, who came to Japan and took my training program, and then started several months internship with the Japanese company. I was a trainer, so after she successfully completed, went back her country. She put her thoughts together and sent me an email. And here is.
I hope it's a very nice one.
Let's see how she wrote.
So Japan doesn't fit me. It is not my culture.
Okay. To share her story without disclosing this, of course, identity, she is a Muslim lady, and she cannot do without wearing a hijab, the scarf, the Muslim lady scarf. Even before she started working with this Japanese company, she was politely but clearly asked by the Japanese co-worker, would you mind taking it off? Because some of our customers may feel uncomfortable looking at you with the hijab. So what do you think?
From the woman's view, or from the person?
Whichever.
I think that's really from the woman's view. I think that's kind of insensitive because that's personal. It's something to do with your own fate.
Fate?
Yeah, fate. So maybe it's rude.
Maybe it's rude.
Maybe it's rude. I don't know.
Okay.
It depends.
Okay.
Yes.
Then comparing this story, hijab story, to the three types of approaching cultural diversity. Cultural diversity is the hijab, okay? Example of cultural diversity, hijab. This story belongs to which one more?
I think it's parochial.
Parochial.
Yeah, parochial type.
Why is that?
Because the Japanese think this is how it's supposed to be, but the other person thinking, no, this is how it's supposed to be. So they have their own opinion about that.
It seems from this short email, per se at least, that neither party, both parties, have been able to overcome this cultural challenges and not reached the synergistic solution yet, obviously, because this is the end of the story, right?
But the woman saw up with
yes,
the hijab, of course. Nothing changed.
Nothing changed. She continued to wear it at work, but without solving the problem, the negative feelings, right? So it's not synergistic.
Right.
Let me show you, viewers, one more story, which I also received recently from one of my trainee business persons. And he is still working. He's a full-time employed in a Japanese hotel. So he sent me a letter.
All right.
I don't mind being the only non-Japanese at all because I enjoy learning through cultural interactions. It's really interesting for me as a Westerner to see just how different I think and feel about work, life, relationships, etc. I hope he is right because I make a ton of mistakes. Which of the three types is just more similar?
I think he's the one with the synergistic.
On the way to synergy.
Yeah. He enjoy learning.
Also, he enjoy his own reaction.
Yes.
And also, he making a ton of mistakes, but he seems to enjoying it. Right?
That's true.
How was today's program for you personally, Ida-san?
I think me as a foreigner here, I find this a lot in a work environment. But not every person have just one type of that approach. So sometimes they have all of them.
All types.
Yes, all types.
One person.
Yeah, one person.
Okay,
it just depends the situation and what problem we deal with at the moment.
Right.
At that time.
At that time.
Yes.
And we switch our style.
Yeah, sometimes they switch.
Depending on the environment, the context.
Because basically it's win-win situation if you already have some differences.
Okay.
So how to think to make it work.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but if we are aware that there are those types, that helps us remind ourselves that I'm approaching in a bad approach, so I should switch back to synergistic, to be aware, to recognize that there are several types possible, then it helps our communication. Okay, our program is titled Japan Spirit, but it does not mean Japan is the best. Japan is not bad, but it can be better. We want to practice mandala values of Japan, tolerant and flexible, and continue to grow into a cultural power of the world, not just economic power.
Thank you for watching. Until next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.